Hey, everybody, and welcome to a live edition of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast. I'm here with Dr. Lim, and we're talking about a little bit of leadership stuff at the end of the week here. What up, Dr. Lim?
Yep. What's going on, man? Yeah, I'm outside today, so feeling really good. Always glad and always happy to be on a show with you, talking about leadership, all the good stuff. I'm ready.
Yeah, but how's the weather in California? I heard it was rainy.
Man, we got a lot of rain this week, so yeah, still. I mean, still supposed to get a little bit more rain, but like we're freezing. So I got the beanie, the hoodie, and the shorts on. So
I saw it,
I'm
dude. It
I'm ready.
looks looks like you're really braving the elements, man. So let's do this. I wanted to talk about a
Yeah.
specific leadership article this week, and the article is called "Microsoft Restructures Its AI Leadership Team Again," which was awesome.
Yep.
It did totally caught my eye, and I want to start off by with one of the quotes, and it says, "Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella gave a warning on AI. He said, we need to rapidly rethink the new economics of AI across the company," which is pretty interesting. It seems like they're doing a complete overhaul over there, and everywhere I turn, it's something to do with AI. So I wanted to talk today about adaptive leadership and what leadership means within the context of all this changing madness. So, do you have any initial thoughts
Yeah.
on AI and leadership?
Like AI and leadership. Well, leadership to me is, something that we keep saying on this podcast is leaders don't react. And there's something about leadership where you are just kind of in front of things and you're thinking ahead and you're planning ahead so much so that you're not reacting. Now, things happen in leadership that you have to react, and then you move into managing that situation. But when leaders are forward thinking, they're challenging the status quo, like, adaptive leadership is just what leaders do, right? They adapt and they move and they change and hopefully stay ahead of what it is that they're doing.
Yeah. So for the YouTube audience, Facebook audience, Instagram, wherever you're watching, um, we'd love to hear what it means to be an adaptive leader in your industry. So when conditions shift, right? There's tech markets, there's different expectations. The org chart now is changing with it. And so that's adaptive leadership in
Yeah.
action. So it's when you can recognize the current structure is not able to carry whatever's coming in the next season, which is tough because a lot of leaders they like to get comfortable in leadership, and leadership is anything but comfortable. And I want to give you a quote, and then I want to hear your thoughts. You and I were talking offline a little bit behind the scenes about this, and I want to ask a specific question. But here is a quote by Ronald Heifetz, and he says this: "The single biggest failure in the exercise of leadership is to treat adaptive challenges like technical problems." In other words, the way
Yeah.
that leadership is within this changing AI structure and being adaptive just in anything that you do, right? Whether we're talking about hybrid learning or remote, um, having remote jobs and remote employees, is these aren't just
Yeah.
problems that you can fix. People aren't like cars; you don't just fix them. Leadership is
Right.
moving. It's a moving target, if you will. And so you had a great example of somebody that you knew in a company that was moved to a position of
Yeah.
leadership because they were the expert in what they were doing. Why don't you tell the audience about that?
Yeah. So I was telling you that I was in a consulting situation where we consulted with it was a hardware and software company. They made modems, right? And in this situation, they had all of these engineers working on a problem. And what happens in these companies is as engineers do really well in their engineering job, keep getting promoted. And then eventually they get to the point where they get to be promoted to like managerial spots, and then all of a sudden all their engineering skills doesn't necessarily translate into leading people, because that's a kind of completely different skill set. I've actually seen it with a couple of good friends of mine, like you know, this other friend of mine, he's an engineer, and again, he the same thing. He moved up into the company, and he was good at the technical stuff, and he was good at the engineering side of things. And then you get so good at that, then they move you over to manage all the engineers, and all of a sudden it's a people thing, and you can't do the people thing like you do engineering. It's not a math problem. It's not like something that you can just calculate and figure out. Like, people are a little different. And so, I mean, we made a ton of money as consultants with doing team development and human performance improvement, doing the things that we do here at Rising Tide, like helping people figure out their personality. I mean, in this one particular consulting gig, I won't name the company, but like, they were just so socially awkward. They didn't even know how to talk to each other outside of the technical stuff. Like, I remember sitting down with one of the engineers, like he was one of the bosses, and one of the things we talked about was like, do you know if the people that work for you have kids? Do you know if they're married? Do you know what they did last weekend?
Yeah.
This guy like had no idea what his family life was like. He didn't know anything personal about like this guy that had worked for him for years. And like the assignment was really simple for him. Like, ask him how his weekend went, which is something, again, like if you're
Yeah.
that technical, and if you're just such an engineer that like, and he was good at his engineering job, he just wasn't good at the people side of things. And so this article that we're working on, like they did the same exact thing. They took one of their guys that was really good at AI, and they put him in charge of changing the leadership culture. And so what you did was exactly what I just mentioned. You took an engineer, nothing against engineers, don't get me wrong. You took an engineer that was good at his technical stuff, and then you put him over a bunch of people to do leadership stuff, which he's not probably not that good at. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that was the situation.
Yeah. One of my favorite books, and I know I say that all the time. We have a lot of favorite books, but there's a book called The Peter Principle by Lawrence J. Peter.
Okay.
And this is what he says. He says that in a hierarchy, every employee tends to rise to his level of incompetence. And I think we
Mm,
see that in all companies. Like you said, just because you're the best engineer doesn't mean you're going to be the best manager of engineers. Just because you're the best
right.
salesman on the floor
Right.
selling cars doesn't mean that you're going to be a good manager or leader of people. It's a completely different skill
Yeah.
set. In my actual favorite book of all time, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie talks about Andrew Carnegie of Carnegie Steel and how he brought in he brought in somebody who didn't know anything about what steel was all about, but because he had $1 million
Exactly.
smile, he was able to deal with people. And he said,
And he knew
"People is my
people.
business."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
so I'm not going to tell
I've
you
seen
who
it
that
time and
person
time
is
again.
that Andrew Carnegie brought in, but for our audience, if you look that up and see who did Andrew Carnegie bring in to run his steel company, you're going to say, I know that guy. And I'm telling you, if you want to be rich in relationships, you need to understand people. So anyway, you were saying, Dr. Lem.
Yeah, no, leadership is about people. Managing is about processes. We've talked about that on many podcast episodes. And when you're leading an organization, you're leading the people in the organization, right? And so, what they want to do is they want to revamp their leadership out at Microsoft. And you need to bring a leader to come do that, not a technician, not an engineer. I mean, they're good at what they do, right? And in this case,
Yeah.
the article was saying, and again, this is the article, so we're reading this article. The article was saying that they brought in this guy, like this AI expert, to revamp the leadership. And my first reaction, and you know, and is what I told you. I'm like, they should bring in a leadership guy to do that, not an AI expert. Like, because you can learn enough. about the technical side of things, but that's not what you're doing as a leadership, as a leader. If you're wanting to change the leadership culture, you got to change the systems. You got to change the relationships, like how people are working with each other. Like that's the leadership culture, and then like build the systems in light of that.
Yeah. So here's my question for you as the identity specialist. So in
Sure.
situations like this, or how leadership is just changing and work is changing right now, there's a lot of leaders that feel like change is an indictment on their past decisions. And
Yeah.
so, how do we get them to stop thinking that way and instead think, no, no, this is an invitation so that I can now lead differently?
Yeah. It's it's well, anytime you're looking at the past, I mean, and living from that, like you're missing out on what's happening now. And leadership is about challenging the status quo. It's about moving forward. It's about leading. Leading. Inherent in leading is that you're moving forward toward a thing, and you know, not really focused on what's behind. Now you could take a look at what we've done in the past, but like, how do we move forward from that? Is leadership, right? So yeah, it's definitely not an indictment on the past. Like you're in the present moment, you can make different and new decisions, and if there's a clear and compelling vision that we're all headed toward, like there's that forward movement about it. And so forget what's behind. Let's move forward. I mean, hopefully the vision is strong enough and compelling enough that the leader can move people forward. Um, but yeah, like let the past be the past, and leadership is about the future. Leadership is about challenging the status quo. And challenging the status quo is not doing what we've done before, right? It's it's changing the past so that we can be better and more efficient at what it is that we're doing. And as we're headed toward a clear and compelling vision, like we're leaving the past behind. Like it's crazy. It's inherent in leadership to just not worry about the past.
Yeah, and we take our clients right through the disc styles and with that assessment. And if you don't know your disc style, again, when you take a personality assessment, it doesn't put you in a box, contrary to popular
Right.
belief. That's a lot of
Right.
every single one of my clients will say that. No, I don't want to be put in a box. No, you've been put in a box already. People already think about you a certain way, and you're being shaped by that. So let's take a personality assessment. You
Yep.
answer the questions truthfully, and then you're going to get a better idea, not of exactly who you are, but your tendencies, your personality, and then you can start to build your own personality from that.
Right.
So
Right.
um, within that, what do you think in this rapidly changing new leadership style, environment? What do you think? Which disc styles do you think struggle the most when the rules change? And how do we coach those people in discomfort?
Yeah. My initial reaction was the C's, who like the rules, who are all about compliance. When the systems and the rules and the compliance changes, like they'll have a difficult time with it. But on the flip side, once they get the new rules, once they get the you know, new standards, like they'll just jump right in without any feelings, without any like worry, without even fighting. They're like, because they're compliance people, they'll just jump right in. So it'll be difficult for them, most difficult for them, but I think it'll be the easiest for them because once you get that once they get that clarity, they're off and running, right? You don't have to convince them.
Yeah.
They know the parameters. S's might have a hard time with it, I think, because um yeah, they're also used to, they're also used to this is the way that it's done. But if everybody gets on board, you know what I mean? And then they're off and running as well. It's not so much about the task for them as it is about the people. So if the people are on board and everyone's moving in that direction, yeah, they're off and running. I think a D that that a D that can't a D that can't be adaptive will have the hardest time, right?
Yeah,
A D that's like, it's only my way and this is the way, which is a very D thing to do. You see what I'm
absolutely.
saying? So I think a D that isn't adaptive will have the hardest time making the transition, because we just did an episode on yes men, and if there's a leader that's very strong, but it has to only be his way and no one can challenge him, he's going to have the hardest time when the systems and the the environment and the culture changes, and he just wants to do it his way. So initially it was the C's, and then I thought, wow, the C's actually have the easiest time jumping in, and the person that will have the hardest time is the D leader that can adapt. What do you
Yeah,
think?
man, I got thoughts on all those. Which one do you want to hear about?
Let, give me the summary, give me the overview, or
All right,
respond to what
yeah,
I said.
yeah, sure. So if you've got a D style dominance, you're built for speed, power. You want to move forward, and
Yeah,
so you need to let them co-lead. D's need to feel like they're in charge, even when they're
yeah,
not. Trust me, I
yeah,
know. I'm a high D style, so are you. Even if I'm not in charge, just make me feel like I'm in charge. It makes me feel a lot better. For the
yeah.
I style or the influencer, those are the people that thrive on relationships, life of the party, enthusiasm,
Yep,
social
yep,
energy. And so it's all about communication for them. If you're going to do something, bring them along for the process. Tell them it's going to be a good time. I'll skip the S's for a second because they're always my favorite ones. But those who are the C styles or the conscientious types, they want accuracy, they want data, they want expectations. They never have enough information to go. They're just like,
yeah,
well, hey, let's a
yeah,
little bit more before we do this change, Lim. I know we
yeah,
want to do this, but and so when the rules change quickly, they're going to feel like the foundation's cracking. They're going to feel
yep,
like there's too many variables, not enough clarity. Lim, you're messing this all up. We're losing information. We're just getting worse now. And so you got to give them the details. You got to give them the
yeah,
timelines, evidence where possible, because when there's these rapidly changing, you don't always get that. And then let them audit the plan. Hey,
yeah.
what's going on? What did I miss here?
because
Trust me,
because
they
they're going to
know.
be the best. They're going to be the best at auditing the plan. They're going to be
Oh,
looking at things that nobody else will be looking at.
and they know that you're all a bunch of idiots. They're like, everybody's got this all wrong. If everybody's
Right?
had my information, we'd be fine. But they never want to move
Yep,
forward. My
yep,
favorite, though, are the S style, the steady people. And
yeah,
there are more steady styles than any other style out there. They thrive on predictability, stability, consistency. Any sudden rule change is going to be a threat to their security, and they don't like to feel insecure, right? They want to feel okay. They want you to feel okay. And so, if you want to help coach them through that kind of change, you just got to give them the context. Give them the
yep,
context, then you can give them direction. Hey,
yep,
here's why we're changing. And this is where we want to go because this is how it affects you. And I would say that the new generation really encompasses that. As a
yeah,
coach for young people, they want to know what's going on. And so
yeah,
with the S style, I always affirm their relational value, let them know that, hey, don't worry. I see you during this shift. Here's how we're going to make the change smooth, right? They want things to be smooth. They want to become
right,
allies. They want to be on your side. They
yeah,
want to buy in. You just got to help them. So those are my thoughts. I don't know. What do you
yeah.
think?
Oh, I love it. We we need all of those styles and personalities to get that balance, because if you're too heavy on the one, you're gonna just miss out on so much that you can't see, and then you create that culture of yes men. Actually, you're also creating a culture of management, because then you're just having to manage things and not lead. And so, yeah, I love the balance. I love the insight that the disc gives in communication and leadership and just relationships with people. I love it.
Yeah. I see when people are putting in the comments when one of our guys says I'm an IS, fun,
Yeah,
stability, good stuff. For me,
people.
yeah, people, having a good time. So I'll leave us with this. How do you deal as a leader with adaptive change?
Yeah.
What are the things that you need to work on so that your people are led well? Because you have to lead from who you are, but you have to lead towards who your people are. And if you get those mixed up, it's just going to make for a lot of friction, and it's not going to be good. So, Dr. Lem will give you the last word, and then we'll be out.
If you don't know what your style is or your personality, or if you can't answer that question that Mo just asked, hit us up in the comments. We'll walk you through the DISC personality or DISC assessment, and we'll help you figure that out. Because once you have that knowledge, then it's a lot easier to adapt. You can communicate to people. This is what I need from you. This
Yeah.
is how I move and communicate, and this is how you can communicate to me where I feel heard and seen, and it just helps all the way around. So if you don't know what your DISC is, let us know in the comments, hit us up, and we'll get you set up.
Awesome, man. Good stuff, dude.
Yes, sir.
We'll do it again next week. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
All right. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe.